Hello everyone. In this lab assignment we will see how we can manage the life cycle of the data that is present inside S3 bucket. You can see here in this picture. So whenever you are working on any bucket and on data that belongs to standard class, so you can shift the data from standard class to some other class based on how many days you want to keep in particular class. So standard class is the costliest option for saving our data. So if we consider our data is not going to be used frequently, in that case we can shift to some other class. Like here you can see, if you want to shift your data after 30 days when the data is created or uploaded on this S3 bucket, so we can shift the data into standard IA, infrequent access class, because we are considering that after 30 days we are not going to be used that data frequently. So we can access the data in a week or in a month, you can call. So in that case we are searching for some cheaper option like standard infrequent access. Now, after 60 days of the creation of the data, you are considering that you will not be going to use the data in a month or 2 month or 6 month. So in that case, what you will do, you will shift the data to Glacier. Now, when you are shifting your data to the Glacier and you are considering that that data will not be in use for a longer time duration, right? Means that data is of no use for you. In that case, what you can do, after some days you want to delete the object, right? So here you can see, after 465 days I want to delete the object that I kept inside this S3 bucket. So that data might be for some experimental purpose, or like the data, temporary data I want to I want to delete the data for some time duration. If you want to keep the data after large time duration, so you can save the data in S3 diff archive also, if you are considering that that data can be used in future after 1, 2, 4, 5 years. So that for that purpose you can save the data in the Glacier also. So I'll show you how it works in S3 bucket object. So I'm just going to AWS S3 console window. So I will create one bucket. So I'm just writing here. Okay, so anything you can provide here, name. So I'm creating bucket in Mumbai region. Now what I want to do, I'm just allowing the bucket object can be accessed from anywhere, or anyone who has the URL can access the bucket object. Now I am allowing public access to this bucket. So I need to acknowledge that. And after that, I'm just allowing the versioning option. Now nothing else. I want to create one bucket. So my bucket is created. Now I want to set some rule for the object that is present inside the bucket. So I'm just going to open this bucket. Now in the management, I can set the rule. So what I'll do now, I'll go to management, and in the management you can see the first in the first section itself you can see life cycle rule. So there is no rule created right now. You can see some other properties also. So we can set the life cycle rule by setting all the options here. So we need to create one rule for the object that is present inside the bucket. So I'm just writing here life cycle rule. Now, so you need to select the scope, right? Whether you want to apply this life cycle rule for a specific object, or you want to set this rule for all the object present inside the bucket. So I'm just selecting all the object present inside the bucket. So I need to acknowledge that. After that, you can see here what are the action you want to take by setting the life cycle rule. So if you go and check here, so the first option is whether you want to move current version of the object between storage class. So I have enabled versioning option, right? That means I want to store my current version of the object between different storage class. Now I want to save non-current version of the object also, and I want to change the storage class option for the non-current version option. So I can set rule for that also. Expire current version of the object. So I need to set the rule when I will expire, when I'll delete this one. So when I need to first make the version expire, then I can delete the expired object later on. Now, whether you want to permanently delete with non-current version of the object. So if you want to save any data inside the object, so you can apply multiple versioning option also, means multiple version of the object can be created. So you can apply rule for the current version of the object as well as previous version or non-current version of the object. So if I'm considering current version of the object, in that case, we can change the storage class, and I need to make, so if that current version of the object will no longer will be used, in that case what I'll do, I'll expire the object. Now what I'll do with the non-current version of the data, so I can change the storage class of the non-current version of the data, as well as I can permanently delete the non-current version of the data if that is of no longer use. And first, for the current version of the data, I'll expire the version of that version of the data, then I'll delete the expired version of the data. So like this you can set some of the rule. So I'm just going to set rule for the current version of the data. So when I clicked on that, you can see here what are the transition rule you want to make here. So standard IA. So I told you, when you are creating any object or anything, that is by default saved in the standard class. So after how many days you want to change the storage class option to standard IA from the standard class, right? So you can see here, this one is the hierarchy, right? So first one is standard IA, then intelligent tiering option. There is no minimum storage duration. Intelligent tiering means shifting of the data from one storage class to another storage class based on the access pattern of the data. If that data is used frequently, so intelligent tiering will shift the data to standard class. If the data is not going to used frequently in that case, intelligent tiering option will shift the data to the infrequent access. So this one is the tiering option that is done by default if you have allowed this tiering option. Now one zone IA. Now Glacier instant retrieval, Glacier flexible retrieval. So if you are saving your data in Glacier, in that case, saving cost is less, right? But when you want to retrieve the data from that storage class, so it is costly. So when you want to retrieve the data, whether you want to retrieve the data instantly, so in that case you need to pay more, because retrieval cost is more in the case of the Glacier or archive kind of data. Flexible retrieval, so you can say I need the data but not instantly. In that case you can go for this option. But if you are saving your data in Glacier deep archive option, so it will take many hours, right, to retrieve the data from the Glacier deep archive. So what I am going to do here, I'm just selecting standard IA. So after 30 days of the creation of the data, my data will be moved to standard IA. Now I want to set some other rule also. Now what I want to do, I want to shift the data to one zone IA after 60 days, right? So the value should be greater than this value. And suppose I want to save the data in, now I want to shift the data into Glacier. So all these options are disabled. I cannot select those options because all those options are gone now. So I am writing here 120. So what it is written here, the value that you are writing here must be 30 more than the one zone IA. So if you will write any value, like if I am writing 89, it will not accept the value, right? If you will try to add transition, it will give some kind of error message here. So, or it will not allow you to do that. So I'm just writing 120 here for safer side. Now for the last option is deep archive, I want to write here. So for the deep archive purpose, the value should always be, the integer value should be at least 90 more than the value of Glacier. So if I will write here 180, it will not accept. The value should be 120 more. Now you can see here warning message is coming here. If you want to save your data in archive or deep archive, the data size should be large, right? If you want to save the data smaller object in glacier that is of no use, you can save it somewhere else because it will not charge you much. So for current version of the data, you can see all the transition rule is defined here. Day 0 object is uploaded. On day 30 it is moved to standard IA. After day 60 it is moved to one zone, and after 120 it is moved to glacier flexible retrieval, and after 120 it is moved to glacier deep archive. Now you can set rule for non-current version of the data also. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just selecting rule for non-current version of the data also. So if you go, you can see after 60 days I want to, and how many version you want to save. So I'm just writing for 10 version I want to apply this rule. Now I'm just going to select another option, that is one zone IA, and after 120 days I want to shift there, and I want to save for the 10 version, but up to 100 version you can save. So I don't want to add more rule here, so it will go to only 2 rule, no problem in that. Okay, now suppose you want to set some rule for expiring the current version of the data, so when it will expire. So if you go down, you can see how many after how many days you want to expire your current version of the data. So I have written here 365. So after 365 days my current version of the data will be expired. So you can see here for current version it is coming here, right? After day 365 this object will expire. Now if I want to set some other rule, permanently delete non-current version of the data. So after how many days you want to delete the, so suppose I am saying after 365 days, I just want to remove all the 10 version of the data I wanted to store. So you can see here after 365 days, all other non-current version are permanently deleted. Now there is one more rule I can apply here. Delete expired object. So after how many days you want to delete your expired current version of the data, right? So suppose I'm just writing okay, so you cannot enable delete expired object delete marker if you enable expired current version of the object. Okay, no problem. So incomplete multi-part option I'm just writing here. So I'm just writing after 400 days I want to delete this one, multi-part upload. So you can see all the rule I have set here. Now if you go and create rule, so one rule will be created for the object that you are saving inside my bucket. Right, you can see here life cycle rule, name of the role, status is enabled. On entire bucket I am applying this rule, and transition is given here for current version, transition is given for non-current version, delete marker expiration was not allowed to me, so incomplete multi-part upload is permanently deleted. So like this you can see this one is the rule created for my bucket object. So when you go and check this bucket, so there is no object, but once you will upload the object, the rule will be set as it is written here in the life cycle rule. So for each and every bucket, you can set the rule. Now I'm just going to delete this bucket. So as there is no content in the bucket, so the bucket will be deleted. And when you will delete the bucket, all the rule that you have set with this bucket will also be deleted with the bucket itself. So with bucket, you can see the rule. If bucket is not existing here, in that case you will not see the rule here. So that is it about today's lab assignment. Thank you.